Quite the intro music.
Let me just get my headphones set up.
Okay, well, I would like to just start off by saying hello and welcome to our first panel discussion on diversity in synchronized skating. My name is Lisa Carriere and I am the founder of OneTeamMVMT, which is a nonprofit organization that is working to unite and empower the synchro community in order to grow and further develop the sport around the world, especially at the grassroots level. I'd like to start off by thanking all of our viewers for tuning in to this discussion on diversity in synchro. The interest alone in this discussion is an incredibly positive sign that people are not only open to change, but are looking for direction and wanting to hear the voices and stories from the incredible ladies on this call today. I'd also like to thank all of the skaters who reached out to OneTeamMVMT during and after Blackout Tuesday to ask us if we could use our platform to address racism in synchro. It is through these conversations with skaters of color that I realized having this discussion wasn't an option, it was our duty, because we want synchro to be the best sport it can possibly be, and our community is diverse. But at the same time, minorities are often alienated and mistreated, and there is so much room for us as a sporting community to do better. So without further ado, I want to thank all of these amazing women for joining the panel today and introduce each of them. Helping me to moderate this conversation today is Cherisse Woonsam. She's a Canadian level judge and former senior synchro skater. Our panelists for today will include Élodie Acheron, a former skater who moved from France to skate with Les Suprêmes Senior in Canada. We also have Ashlee Wright, a current skater with Haydenettes in the USA, the most successful synchronized skating team in US history. We also have Denika. She's a former skater from Gold Ice Junior and a current skater with Nexxice Senior, the highest ranked team in Canada based on the ISU World Standings. And Ali, former skater with Crystallettes Novice, trainer with Crystallettes Senior, and daughter of Dr. Richard Porter organizer, Emmanuel Curry. I'd like to pass it over to you, Cherisse.
All right, can you guys hear me okay? Yeah, okay. Maybe all of you girls can take your mics off of mute, and that might be, all right, here we go. First, I wanted to say thank you to Lisa and OneTeamMVMT for having this panel discussion and asking me to be a part of it. This is not always an easy subject to talk about, but the issue of racism is real, whether it's in sport or our everyday lives. I think before we start, it's important to note that this conversation is about sharing our feelings and struggles as Black people, as people of color in a sport that we all love, so that we can help educate others. This is not about pointing fingers, attacking, or laying any blame. And I understand that for some white people, you may feel uncomfortable with some of the things that we say or point out, especially when it comes to white privilege. So all we ask is for everyone to listen and be open-minded, which I think everyone here tuning in wants to do, which is why you're tuned in. All right, girls, are you ready? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's start with, I guess, the obvious, things like tights, all right? Tights, dresses, makeup. What is the biggest thing for you? Who wants to go first? Ashlee. Okay.
I volunteer. Okay, so in terms of makeup, I am relatively humble when it comes to accepting the makeup. And I just don't think that maybe the makeup committee understands that because my skin tone is a little bit darker, it's gonna show up differently on my skin. So I accept the makeup that they give me, and then I go right to Sephora and I ask one of the consultants and I say, I need my makeup to come out this shade, but I need it to be on my own skin. And then usually what happens is I end up getting a darker shade that's kind of more mute in color terms because it's usually too bright. So, for instance, last year, I was on esprit de corps, and we did a red lip, and I actually put on like a darker red lip liner just in the bathroom at competitions really quickly, and then would put on the brighter red lipstick, and it would kind of mute the color. And one day, because we hang out outside of skating, we also all got dressed up and, you know, looked cute. And I was wearing the red lipstick without the darkness underneath it. And one of my old teammates was like, "Oh, I love your lipstick. What color is it? Where'd you get it?" And I was like, "It's the team makeup. This is like on my skin." You know,
now
so.
let me ask you this question. Did your coaches or did anybody from the team know that you had to go to Sephora and do this? Like, the reason why I'm asking is because I know with me, and now I am quote unquote lucky because I've got light skin, right? So I can kind of pass with some of the colors. But I know that for me, when I was skating, I was able to wear like the same color lipsticks and eyeshadows, but my foundation, the foundation that they bought for the team, wasn't working for me. So I had to go and use my own. And I remember just like putting it on secretly because I didn't want to look like that person who wasn't the team player. So I was secretly, you know, putting on my own foundation, and then was around everybody when we were putting on, you know, eyeshadow, blush, and lipstick. So for me, I kind of, if some of my coaches are watching now, yeah, I had to like cover that up or pretend that I was, you know, being a team player by using their foundation, but I had to go and use my own. So did your team know that you had to go and do this, or did you keep it under wraps?
No, I definitely just kept it to myself. You know, when we were on my old team, at least when we would get ready for competitions, you know, the music is playing, we're getting relaxed and we're all singing or chanting and getting changed. And so I would just kind of take that like quiet moment to myself. That was probably better spent preparing to actually take the ice. I would actually take that moment to myself, like in the bathroom, and just kind of give it like a quick brush. The blush definitely never matched my skin tone. It was actually too light, so it never showed up, and I just needed to.
And you're putting layers on layers on layers, and yeah.
Like I could cake it on, or I could just use the correct tone, and then it would just at least match theirs, because otherwise it was like a really nice, beautiful light pink, but that looks more rosy on them than it does on me. It looks more white. So I had to definitely just go ahead and to myself. I actually don't think that any of my teammates know that secret.
Now, what about anybody else? Does anybody else have a makeup story or want something that they want to share? No. Well, I can say from, okay, go ahead, Allie.
Like Ashlee, I didn't really I was humble with the makeup. I wasn't someone who really spoke out and was like, "Oh, that's not gonna match my skin tone, I'm not gonna wear it." So I chose not, because of course, if I fight the coaches on everything, you'll be the perception of the angry Black woman, quote unquote. So I chose mostly to have my balance about the hair and not putting glitter in my hair, for example, because I get my hair professionally straightened for competitions for about a day or two before the competition, which, as we know, is pricey. And so if I have glitter in my hair and I have to wash it right after we compete, then that's kind of like money down the toilet, essentially. So that's something I've always had tough conversations with my coaches about, like, because they want to put glitter in my hair. They're like, "You have to put glitter in your hair." And I'm just like, no, that's not something I do. I just don't feel comfortable.
No. Just for everybody listening, glitter in our hair is like a big no. We have different texture hair. It will take forever just to wash out. So, and not only that, like, you know, Ali was saying, like, it actually costs money to get our hair done. It's not like we can wash our hair and go every day. It's not that simple. I know, like, for me, you know, a weekend of competing, my hair is in a bun the whole entire weekend. You know, when
Same
we
for
would
me.
go to, yeah, when we would go to like international competitions, that whole week, my hair is in a bun because it's too hard to keep going back and forth between my natural hair and a bun and slicking it. That's a lot. I think a lot of people don't realize what we need to do to slick our hair back and keep it slicked, because you know, you've got these little baby hairs and curls and stuff, so that, you know, when you're warming up before you step out on the ice, now all of a sudden you got these like little frizzy curls and you're trying to, you know, put like loads and loads of gel on, and we can't wash our hair that night and get rid of that gel. So it's staying in a bun the entire weekend or all week. So when everybody else is like, you know, I don't know, going back to their normal hairstyles, we can't do that. So glitter, no.
And then adding
What
on to
about-
that,
Yeah.
and then adding on to that, we also need to know our hair a little bit ahead of time. And you can't be like changing parts last minute or being like, oh no, we're gonna do this, because if you have your hair in a bun for a whole weekend and you're just adding gel and you're like 10 minutes before we go to the rink, like, oh, we're changing the part side, that's gonna be really hard for us to do.
Yeah. And it's like so important to note that it takes hours. It takes me so long. Like for competitions, I don't go get it professionally done. I try and do it myself because it's rather costly after a while, and the damage has been done to my hair essentially. So it takes me about 3 hours just to get it flat enough enough
Without it being kind of puffy and not having that slicked look, right?
Yeah, to make it clean. And I mean, if we go all the way back to the beginning of my skating career, back when I was, you know, 9 through like 15, I did a separate type of synchronized skating, which is ISI, and that is a less technical form than the ISU/US figure skating rules. And I was young and I didn't understand the context and like how my hair worked. So I actually burnt it all off one season because I was just so desperate to try and make my hair flat, because you know, the mom sometimes would make comments about it and be like, oh, like we should put some gel in your hair. And when you put gel in your hair, if you add moisture, so you know, I spent all this time trying to flatten my hair, and then the next season I didn't have any hair left because it had all fallen out. And so I asked, you know, the coaches and said, hey, I don't know how this is gonna work, but I don't have any hair to put it into a bun. Like, is that okay? Or do I have to have a bun in order to compete this season? And they, you know, assured me like, no, boys don't wear buns, boys don't wear dresses. It's the judges are going to see that you have no hair. And because when I say I had no hair, like it was straight around maybe 2 inches tall. And, you know, I was like, okay, I'm still really excited to be here. I'm excited to go into the competition season. And then about 2 days before our first exhibition, it wasn't even a competition, I reminded them gently again and said, hey, I still don't have any hair, even though it's been 6 months, because my hair only grows like, I don't know, 5 centimeters a year. And they said, if you can't put your hair in a bun, you can't skate. And so they tried a lot of different things. They said like, well, why don't you just put your hair in braids? Like, why don't you just get an extension and then put a bun in? And, you know, that's just not how it works. And I tried my very best, and my mom and I, she was great with me. We tried so many things to be able to get this like donut sock things sitting on my head to look like a bun so that I could compete, which is not at all obviously what I wanted to do. And it was a super uncomfortable moment for me. And so because of that, I actually stepped away from synchronized skating for 6 years. And then I went to college, and then I graduated from college and said, I really want to give this another shot. And so that's actually how I ended up at Hayden, because I was like, I I want to go ahead and go for it.
Right.
So,
and I think a lot of people don't realize what our hair is to us. As Black women, our hair is part of our identity, right? So whether we express it through braids or curls or straightening it, it's so much a part of who we are. So when people come to you and are saying that your hair isn't good enough, you need to change it, you need to this, it's almost like it's hurting us because it's who we are, you know. And to hear you say that you had to step away from Synchro because, you know, it hurt you that way is like, that hurts me because I know how, you know, I felt with my hair and, you know, just the hassle of trying to keep it slicked and stuff like that. And it was nowhere near what you had to go through. So my heart goes out to you for that. That's just, you know, and I'm hoping that the people watching here can hear your story and understand what it's like for us. You know, they're not thinking about these things. And, you know, you were saying that like you're already having to go out and spend money on makeup. And now you have to go and spend more money to get it braided or to go get it, you know, extensions or whatever so that you can have a bun. You know, that doesn't make sense to me. And I can say that, you know, as a judge sitting up on the panel, I would not, you know, look at a team any different if you did not have a bun. I don't look at a team any different if there's a guy skating on it, you know, and it would be really strange if all of a sudden this guy has a bun in his head. So, you know, if, you know, we don't look at that, why would we look at you and say, she doesn't have a bun, it's not acceptable. I'm really sad that you had to go through that. It's not right, it's not fair. And I'm hoping that we can open the eyes of many people here today so that they can understand what it's like for, you know, Black people in dealing with our hair. It's hard enough to get it looking this way, you know, and now to try and like quickly change it or conform to what, you know, white people here is like and how easy it is to go back. It's very difficult.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Also, I do just want to point out though that my last year's team, they were actually really great about it. And sometimes some teammates would come up with like this crazy sort of hair and, you know, my other teammates would say, no, that's not going to work for her. And
yay for my teammates standing up.
You know, we did that at nationals. We did braids. They were French braids, and it still went into a bun, but it made my hair like so much better. So I
think it's important to note that you then felt good, and when you feel good, you can step on the ice and skate to the best of your ability.
Yes.
Right, because if you already feel crappy about your hair and how you're looking, it's almost impossible for you to step out on the ice and give the best performance possible. Right? What about Denika? I'm gonna call on you.
Because I have really tight curls, like at my old club Gold Ice, they were very like accepting and appreciating that, where they asked, they're like, oh, Denika, how long does it normally take you to do your hair? And I'm like, well, to do it in a bun, like I always have to have it drenching wet to get it really slicked. So they're able to choose like easy hairstyles, whether it was like a high bun or it was like a low bun with the middle part, or they would make us do it in a bun and they put like a ponytail around it. So they were always like very accepting and understanding. And same thing with the makeup. Like they always used to make sure they're trying it out on a variety of different types of girls that have different skin tones. So it's like, if the black might not work on this girl, it might work on some. So then they try and find a happy medium, maybe going back to Mac and asking, okay, like, what do you guys suggest? We kind of need someone in the middle. They'll test it out on every single girl and be like, okay, if you have darker skin, you might need to apply less. If you have lighter skin, you might need to apply more. Or like same thing with the eyeshadow. It's like, they'll be like, okay, you need to apply more concealer on it. So it was very like understanding, accepting that it kind of made doing my hair and makeup so much easier, and for the other girls as well. So we all didn't have a hard time, and we're not spending so many hours, and we're more focusing on the competition than like what our hair and makeup looks like.
Yeah, no, kudos to them. I mean, I think that they are doing it the right way. And again, like, you know, what I was saying to Ashlee, like, you then feel confident. You don't have to worry about how you look. You can like focus on, you know, warming up, visualization, just being so, you know, focused and ready to go. So it's, coaches, you're going to be doing yourself a favor if you just take a few minutes to, you know, stop and talk to these skaters or to whoever you're buying makeup from and discuss the different skin tones that you guys have. Élodie, do you want to say something about whether it's makeup or dresses, tights?
Well, makeup, I had no big issues with that. I was taking maybe 5-10 minutes before or after to adjust anything I need to adjust. Tights was like, well, different colors. It's not your skin tone. So you look at it and you don't feel beautiful because it's too light compared to your skin. But I was lucky because with Les Suprêmes, with Marilyn, Pascal, Amélie, they were aware of it. So they were making sure it was in the middle, an average fitting with everybody. So even if we never talked about it, they did a great job about that. The part I had more issues was with the dresses, where the mesh sometimes was not fitting my skin tone. So I know the first year I asked for a mesh fitting with my skin tone, and the artist was capable of doing it. Years after, I asked again, and it was not possible to fix it. So I had to put, before going on the ice, face powder on my straps or a few parts to make sure it was fitting with me and nobody would see the difference.
Right.
So that's the only thing, the big thing I have, which is stressful because you have to be ready to warm up, to put your skates, extra. And on top of that, with the few minutes you have to be ready in the room, you have to take care of yourself. Sometimes with your partner, who knows, but sometimes you don't have your partner or you don't have a buddy. So you have to do it on your own.
Right, right. I think, you know, a lot of coaches, they just kind of focus on all the dresses being the same, but it actually stands out a little bit more when you've got like a darker skinned skater wearing, you know, mesh that's not their skin tone, or tights not their skin tone. You know what I mean? And to me, I gotta say, I gotta be honest, when I'm sitting up on the panel, I'm not looking at if a skater is allowed to wear different colored tights to match their skin color. I'm never looking at that. That doesn't, I'm looking at lineup, formations, edge quality, all that stuff. I'm not looking like, oh, different color legs. And, you know, I'm not looking at that. But I find that when a darker skinned skater has light or white colored tights or different, or, you know, a mesh that doesn't match, it sticks out. I don't judge based on that, but instead as, you know, a Black woman, I look at that and I feel for them because I know how they must be feeling on that ice. And, you know, I'm sure
they're not comfortable.
No,
Sorry.
no. And, you know, I'm sure, like with makeup even, you know, when the makeup is not for you and now, you know, you're darker skinned and you look like a clown because you've got excess makeup on and it's just the wrong color for you, it actually stands out more. And we see it up on the panel. I can't speak for other judges, whether, you know, they realize that, you know, that person kind of looks a little clownish. But when I see it, I recognize that they look clownish, but I feel for them because I'm just kind of like, why did they let them go out on the ice like that? It's so not fair, you know? So again, I think it's so important that we're having this discussion, because I think people need to know that it's really affecting the way we step on the ice, you know, and we shouldn't be thinking about, you know, the makeup or changing the lining or whatever for our dress. If the dress, you can't find a mesh to match your skin tone, then change the design of the dress. Be mindful of everybody. Just change the design of the dress. The dress does not have to have a mesh, you know, so.
And even tight colors. Like there was one of the first skaters that reached out to me, we were talking about her skin color and being on a synchro team. And she said, you know, there was one time where my coach gave me a pair of Caucasian tights. And it was basically the coach's not deliberately saying, but she, in her mind, the way it was perceived was like, here's your white skin for your legs. And whether it's intended that way or not, if it's coming across that way, we need to do a better job. And now,
Absolutely.
like, there's teams that wear gray tights and navy blue tights and black tights. Like, you don't have to wear skin color tights if you don't want to see different colors. I know I've seen Gold Ice in the past where they pick like a middle tone that's between, like, it's not as light as the Caucasian skaters, it's not as dark as their black skaters, but it's in between and it's a middle ground. But I know a lot of the conversations we've had is just the importance of talking to your skaters and finding out what makes them feel comfortable, because that's what we want when we're going out on the ice.
Exactly. Does anybody else want to add anything?
Yeah, I have one more thing to add.
Yeah.
And going off of the tights and the makeup and the hair, it's also embarrassing. Like if I have family coming or I have friends coming and I step on the ice and nothing really matches me, and I just, like as she said, look like a clown. My legs and my skin don't match my arm, or I have a dress that's like mostly mesh on top that's not my skin tone. And then I have to explain that to them, like, why is that not happening? They're just like, oh, why don't you ask your coach about it? And I have to explain, oh, my club doesn't do that. They don't change the mesh. So
yeah. And sometimes you're just afraid. You're afraid. Like Ashlee, I noted something that you said, like when you went to talk to them, you said, I gently reminded them that my hair, it's like, why did you feel that you had to gently remind them? Not just remind them, like, and it's because you're afraid. You're afraid to, you know, speak up and, you know, be looked upon as the troublemaker or, you know, the angry Black woman. And it's like, you feel like you got to tiptoe and say, hi, there's an issue, and you shouldn't have to do that. You should be able to just say, listen, I'm not comfortable, and can we please do something about it? You know, so sometimes it's a matter of, you know, just feeling confident enough. And, you know, like I said, like with me, when I was putting foundation on, I was afraid to let people know that I was putting on a foundation that was for me and not the team's foundation, right? So, okay. Anybody, we only have an hour here, so we could go on and talk for hours and hours about all of this stuff, but I want to make sure that we have enough time to talk about something else. So before we move on, does anybody else want to add anything? No? All right.
I think it's important for the coaches and also the other teammates, if they have people of colors in their teams, just to ask. What would they be comfortable with, even the makeup, the dress, the tights, just to ask the question and to have the conversation and be open-minded to something which is not something we might have thought before, but it might be good for everybody in the end also. It's really important.
Right. You know, even like at the beginning of, you know, the design process, like maybe just check in with your skaters who have different, you know, darker color skin and say, hey, like, you know, just get some information. And I think that if you feel like you are considered and your skin color is considered in part of the design process, then you're going to feel a lot better. And nobody's going to get upset Like just come and like talk to, or go to talk, not me, but when you go and talk to the skaters and just get input. Don't be afraid to ask them. Like, yes, and that's one thing I wanted to point out is a lot of people like to say that they're colorblind, and you don't want to be colorblind. Seeing different colors is a beautiful thing. Recognizing the different colors is a beautiful thing. All you need to do is say, okay, let's make this work for everybody. So don't just say like, I'm colorblind, I don't notice anything. No, we want you to notice it. We want you to notice that she's Black, she's beautiful, let's give her tights that match her. She's white, she's beautiful, let's give her tights that match her. And just make the whole team a beautiful team, you know? So, okay, let us move on to something else that might be a little bit more difficult for people to understand, and maybe this is where they want to know more. And I think in large part, it's going to be more fitting under the umbrella of white privilege. And a lot of people may be, you know, hearing the term white privilege all over the place. And really and truly, white privilege is a huge like umbrella, let's say, but it's pretty much, you could kind of break it down like this. It's living and going about your daily life without ever having to think of how your color will play a part in it. So if you've never had to think about your skin color for such things as walking into a convenience store or making new friends or seeing the makeup chosen for your entire team to wear without thinking of your skin, you've got white privilege. And I think it's important to note that white privilege isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just saying that you've got a privilege that you don't have to think of your color, skin, whereas with us, we need to think about those things. So how would you guys say that white privilege has affected you guys with skating? And Ali, I'll let you go first.
I feel like it affects differently for teammates and coaches. Coaching wise, I feel like because I am darker and I do stand out more on the team, that I'm looked at more for mistakes, because if I do make a mistake, I feel like it will stand out more. So I feel like I have to be better than everyone on my team for a guaranteed spot to skate or even to get on the team that I'm aiming for. And then with teammates, because they can't really understand what I go through, I experience microaggressions, which if you're not sure what those are, they're little things that you do that are racist, but you don't really think about being racist. So I've had teammates make jokes about my hair texture or the way it looks, make jokes about my skin color. I make jokes about how dark I am, make jokes about the N words, and ask for like an N word pass even. I've even had teammates ask me like, why don't you lighten your skin before to make it
Really?
so it fit the tights? Oh. Yeah.
No, that is no, that's not going to happen. But let's touch upon the first thing that you brought up, you know, is like going out skating. Let's look at it like trying out for a team and having to worry about, or even competition, you know, what are you thinking about? I'm sure that what you're thinking about is, I'm going to go step out on the ice and people are going to see me first, or I'm going to stick out because I'm Black. You got white privilege if you don't step out on the ice and have to think about that. But I think, you know, we all can say that at one point or the other, you know, we've thought about that. I mean, when I skated senior, I was skating competitive, and, you know, there weren't a lot of people of color skating at all. And with the exception of Nancy Alexander, who she skated for Les Pirouettes at the time, and we competed against each other. And I remember like we never got the chance to talk to one another back then. But I remember seeing her and just feeling like, okay, there's somebody else out there that knows how I feel. And she was like on another team, and we had never talked, but I felt like this, connection with her, because I'm like, okay, I'm not the only one, and Nancy and I are now friends, and we've talked about it, and I told her how I had skaters that would come up to me and would say, do you have a sister that skates on Lake Pirouette? And I'm just like, I skate on like Nexxice, like what? And I would just say no, but I really wanted to say, well, you know what? There's another skater on Pirouette that is blonde hair and blue eyes. Is she your sister? Like all Black people don't look the same. All light-skinned people don't look the same, And when I was talking to Nancy about it, Nancy was saying, yeah, she had people come up to her and say, oh, did you see there's another mulatto? Don't call us mulattoes. Just don't call us mulatto. Don't call us half-breeds or anything like that. But yeah, she had people going up to her saying, oh yeah, look, there's another mulatto, that skates in Ontario. And it's like, that's not right. We shouldn't have to be subjected to those kinds of comments. And we're just skaters like everybody else who just love the sport and want to have a good time. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Denika. Do you want to add something?
Definitely it's nerve-wracking going onto a new team where like the environment and where it's located might be mostly Caucasians. So you're not sure if you're going to be accepted because you're a little bit darker than maybe what you've seen on their team. But knowing and like just kind of having the mindset of you're there to skate and they're going to accept you for your skating skills and maybe your expression or like how you present yourself. So that's definitely something where it's like, it's scary and you're like, do I really want to continue going down the sport if I'm not going to be accepted because I'm too dark, or I might not be the perfect body type, or it's all of the things like that. And I think in the end, if you are accepted, then you know that you are good enough and that your skating skills were up to the expectations that they're looking for.
Right. And Élodie, what about you?
If I remember the first time coming, I was super stressed because I was coming from France, first of all. And then I was not speaking that much English. So it was a mix of everything. I remember the first practice I was on the ice, the coach said, look at her, she's doing it perfectly. And I'm like, oh no, no, I want to hide somewhere. Yes, I want to skate because this is my happy place, but not today. Just give me a chance to be accepted and to feel accepted by my teammates. So I want to hide and just follow the flow and feel I'm part of the group before being pointed out and be under the spotlight. So that was the first time I was skating with Les Suprêmes. And funny, you were talking about Nancy. I was friend with Nicole Minahan. She was skating for Nexxice, and we were talking via Messenger. And every time we were in competition, we were seeing each other and talking, and just like we were friends. So I was talking more to her than teammates I had on my team.
Right. Yeah, it's when I skated senior, I'm going to date myself. There was no social media or anything like that. So it was like almost impossible for like Nancy and I to actually, talk to one another. But we have talked to each other, after our, days of competing. And yeah, we have said that we just felt, even though we didn't talk to one another, we felt a connection with one another, which was kind of reassuring in some ways. Yes. Just feeling like I'm not alone in this.
Yeah, so, because you feel alone in a team, even if you're surrounded by people. They love you. They'll really love you, but
they don't understand you.
Exactly. You feel so alone that seeing someone else in another team is like reassuring, and you're like, yeah, I'm not doing this alone. It's better.
Right. And Ashlee, what about you?
I think I just want to point out the added stress that comes with competing when you are of a different skin tone. Last year I fell in a competition, and you fall and you feel bad because you feel like you let down your teammates and your coaches. But how many times do you walk into with a competition with your teammates and then they tap you on the shoulder and go, oh, hey, Ashlee, there's a Black girl on that team, so it's like anytime I, like if I fell, it's not, oh, like Esprit de Corps had a fall. It's, oh, the Black girl in Esprit de Corps fell. It's never just like a generalized, oh, there was a fall. I feel like people are always able to pinpoint the fact that like my color stands out to them, and then that's how they know like who fell on the team. So it's like when I step on the ice, I obviously try to skate to the best of my abilities, but there's like an added stress factor of always wanting to be perfect, because you're not just representing your teammates or your coach or your club, you're basically representing, people of color as well. And I just want to try and be the best skater that I can be, because I feel like, at least for the first like 5, 10, even 15 seconds, that like the crowd is like watching my warm-up lap, like watching my crossovers, watching my extensions. And then eventually, they go, oh, she can skate, and, and they move on and they start looking.
It's like you got to prove yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And that also like, it also can be applied to tryouts even. Like I went to a senior team tryout and I felt like I had to be exemplary, because I felt like it wasn't enough to be perfect. I needed to be like unachievably good in order for the coaches to, see me and want me. Because again, just when you step on the ice, I don't know how judges feel, but sometimes.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask you. How do you think, like, does it make you feel when you look up and you see a panel of white judges, and, a whole white panel? How do you feel?
Yeah. So when I skate on the ice and it's competition time, honestly, they're all just a bunch of blurs. I don't see the faces. Sorry. I am like, it's go time. I'm making eye contact. I'm giving you all the sass or all of whatever is the program is requiring. But the first, day that I get there during official practices and things, I'm looking at you just as much as you're trying to probably look at everybody else. But I feel like you're looking at me specifically to be like, oh, like I have time to watch this program over and over again. Like, let's start with the Black girl and see how she does. So I feel sometimes like I always have to be spot on and I always have to be perfect, but I don't have to just be perfect. I have to be better than perfect, because my skating can negatively or positively affect the scores.
Right. Well, I mean, I would like to say on behalf of all officials, we don't look at that. I mean, it's almost like, with having a male skater, I don't judge a team differently if they have got a male skater, because he will stick out as well. I just don't see it. So for me, I am like looking, like I said earlier, I'm looking at lineups and legs and edges and like all at the whole kind of picture, versus like running through, oh, Black girl, let me look at her. Okay, she did a mistake. No, I'm not doing that, and I think that for the most part, I'd like to say that, officials are not doing that. And if somebody were to do something like that, then I think it would be reflected in their marks and it would not match like the rest of the panel's marks. So I can confidently tell you that it doesn't make a difference what color skin you have, no matter what shade you are. it doesn't make a difference. And again, that's why I like to say, you know, you can wear tights that match your skin and it still won't make a difference. So I want, you know, all skaters of who are of different color, I want you to know straight from an official's mouth that we do not look at you. You do not stand out for us to pinpoint and you and pull you out of the rest of the group when looking at, let's say, like a no hold in the step sequence, and we're like, oh, I'm going to look at that black skater. It's not happening. So I hope that I can put your mind at ease, knowing that you don't have to worry about that, right? Allie, how do you feel about like skating? Are you feeling like, you know, are you worried about how people are looking at you and like, or the judges? Or what are your thoughts on that or feelings on that?
You're on mute.
I wanted to add on to what Élodie was talking about when she was like, oh, I don't want to be an example. Like, please don't look at me. Because last season, I was on a team with no minorities except me. So they were all white except me. And at the beginning of the season, the director of our club was like, Allie, if there's something wrong with this team, I'm holding you accountable. And I moved down from our novice level team to our intermediate level team. So I was one of the girls who was most advanced, like synchro wise. And the coach would pull me aside, be like, oh, you know this drill, Allie? Oh, why don't you demonstrate it? Why don't you show the example? Kind of as I saw this, like making like an unofficial like leader, like, oh, so like I tried to embody that role and like help the girls based on what I experienced as a novice level skater and being at nationals, because I think out of that whole team, maybe 2 other people aside from me have been to nationals. And I felt like I was ridiculed about that. I felt like because I was Black, I was deemed like, oh, I'm being mean to them. And I saw a quote a few days ago that said, any educated, strong opinionated Black woman in any situation is a bully. And I felt like the parents taught me as a bully, and I was labeled a bully throughout the team, where if I was white, that wouldn't have happened at all.
Right. Well, I think part of it is just like, you know, when you do try and stand up for yourself, you know, even if it's done gently, you're still kind of looked upon as like, oh, okay, here she goes again, or okay, what's wrong now? And I think people need to realize that this is something that not only do we deal with on the ice or in the dressing rooms, but this is something that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, right? So sometimes, you know, whether we're at school or at work, and we're dealing with that, and then to come on, you know, to the ice and still have to deal with these things, it's kind of hard, especially when something like synchro, this is our heart, this is like something that we love. You know, it's not like we're getting paid to do this, you know, we're paying to do this, we love this. So it's like you expect to be able to come and just do something you love. And now when you're kind of dealing with, you know, microaggressions or you know, white privilege at the ice, at the arena, on top of your day-to-day thing, it's tough to deal with. And I think that, you know, parents, coaches, skaters need to just be mindful of what people of color are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So, you know, does that give you an excuse to be, you know, mean and rude and say, you know, the world is just against me? Absolutely not. And I think it's important for us to say that we're not victims. We're not victims, but we just want to be treated equally, right? We want to be treated equally. It's really that simple. When, you know, I've had people come and talk to me about what's going on, and I'm like, listen, it's very simple. Just treat me and other people of color the exact same way you want to be treated. You know, so if you as a white person want to bring up something that you're not really happy with or you're uncomfortable with, you know, they feel like they can do that easily. Lisa, can you, like, do you ever stop to think if you're going to bring up the situation, do you ever stop to think, oh, they might think I'm, you know, the angry white woman, or, you know?
No, but I mean, through all of this, I've like many moments I've kind of taken a step back to think, you know, what if the roles were reversed? What if I was joining a Black synchro team and I was the only white person? How would that make me feel? And just, I think, you know, having an opportunity to put yourself in someone else's shoes, even if just in your mind, to take that moment and think about what other people, your teammates, your skaters are going through, I think can guide a lot of our decisions and make them better. I know Get It Called, they posted a whole bunch of microaggressions, those, but I think they also did a bunch of like white privilege slides, and like, you know, if you've experienced this, that's white privilege. And one that really stuck out to me was, if you've never stopped to think, oh my goodness, look how much my skin contrasts with the color of the ice, that's white privilege. And I was just like, oh my goodness, you know, people experience this, and if we're not sensitive to those things, then we're just going to keep on making the same mistakes and the same bad decisions that affect people over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But
I mean, like,
I'm really, I was going to say, I'm
go ahead.
curious to hear, because I know in so many cases, being a skater of color, it makes you a minority, but I look at a team like Gold Ice, and they're probably the most diverse team as far as races go. There's Black skaters, brown skaters, Asians, like there's a whole mix. So I'm curious, Denika, how does that change your experience in synchronized skating?
It's definitely different, because it's like you're not the only person in that situation, where it's like you feel like you have people to rely and to go back on. So it's like you're not like the only one that it's like I'm the only minority and now like I'm afraid to speak up. It's like there's other girls that are feeling the exact same. So instead of doing it alone, you're doing it together, where it's like two of you might be of color, so you get to go up together because you have someone that you trust. Or if there's like 5 of them, then it's like we all get to speak. And then there is some people that understand what we go through. So they're like, you know what, if you feel afraid going alone, like I'm happy to go with you. But the coaches there, like absolutely understanding and wonderful, that it's like, I've never had that feeling of being afraid. It's more just like, I have so much trust in them that I can just go up and be like, you know, this is not working. Or like speaking on behalf of 5 other girls, like this is not working for all of us. So it's definitely just trust between the coach and the skater that needs to be built.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with that. And I think that from, you know, sitting on the panel, when I look at a lot of the Gold Ice teams, all the different levels with the different skaters of different color, I can say that I see a level of confidence from those skaters versus, you know, one Black skater on an all white team and from another. I'm not saying it's for everyone, but I can see that with the Gold Ice teams, with the skaters, that there's just a level of confidence that just brings the entire team up a level. I can see that they're not having to worry about looking like a clown or anything like that. So I hear what you're saying, Denika, and you know, if we can all strive to you know, provide that kind of skating environment, I think that we would be in good hands, you know. Élodie, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think we're good.
Yeah, okay, does anybody?
I think just a question for the group, for the coaches that are watching this and they are aware that there's room to do better. Do you guys have any tips on how they should start? Ashlee?
I mean, for me, I feel like my situation is like maybe a little bit different. You know, how I came to be on the Haydenettes in training, it's a little, yeah, it's just different. I went to my first senior tryouts for another senior team, and I didn't have the best skate because I was too concerned about the color of my skin and trying to be so perfect. And, you know, so I wanted to try again and try out for the Haydenettes. And I actually ended up at public skate one day, and the head coach of the Haydenettes just came up and said, hey, I think you're a really good skater, and it would be in your best interest to go ahead and try out. And that changed my confidence level from like, I went from like 0 to 100 real quick because I was like, wow, like she took the time to see me skate and saw my edge work and all of the other things that I don't always feel get looked at. And so my confidence being on this team, I'm new and I'm still learning things at 100 miles an hour and trying to just keep up. But at no point in time do I feel like I am doing poorly because of my skin tone. And I think like, I don't think that she even realizes like what she did that day by just like coming to me. But the difference between the tryout that I had originally and then the tryout that would have taken place, had the world not become what it is today, we're going to be night and day. And I know that because my confidence level was so much, it was just so much higher going into that the week of. And so sometimes I feel like just like coaches, they do like the simplest, like smallest things, and they just don't even realize that that's what they're doing. But it makes me feel better and it makes me feel more inclusive, because when you are new, you don't know, you're kind of testing the waters to see like, okay, like what's gonna be acceptable and not acceptable in their eyes. And I feel like she just like opened up like all these doors for me. And so I don't necessarily have anything to give.
No, I think that's awesome, because you were at public skate just doing your thing. You didn't have that stress of, oh my God, I'm a black skater. I'm just skating because I love it, right? And then thankfully that coach saw that. But had you gone to try out for Haydenettes and not been seen before, you might have still had in your back of your mind, I'm a black skater. I didn't go well the first time or with the other team. I hope it goes better this time. And it would still be something that you're thinking about. But luckily for you, your coach was able to see you when you didn't even have, that wasn't on your mind. You didn't have to worry about that. So it just goes to show that, and I don't think it's fair to say that you didn't make the other team because you're black. I think, I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but I think what we're talking about here is that your mindset, you weren't able to perform to the best of your ability because you're already thinking ahead of time, oh my God, I'm going to stand out. I'm dark. They're going to be watching me. They're not going to like me. I don't know. And you have all this doubt in your mind. So how are you going to be able to even put forth like a good tryout? So when you're just skating, public skating for the love of it, that's when you were actually able to really shine. And then when somebody shows a level of confidence in you, then it's just, that's it. You don't have to worry anymore, And then like with Denika was saying that, she skated for a team where that, they worked with the skaters and like the makeup and all that stuff. So she felt that she was able to, be comfortable. And then that helped to develop her as an even better skater. And now she's skating with Nexxice. And I know that Nexxice is very inclusive as well. So, had Denika never had that opportunity with Gold Ice, then maybe she wouldn't have, been where she is today.
Right. And yeah, and I know we're running late on time now, so I apologize. But yeah, it really is like so important for me to just like make the note that that senior team that I tried out for, like I don't feel like it was something that had to do with my skin tone. However, I just let the thought of my skin tone becoming such an issue that, it just had a snowball effect and it just wrecked my confidence. And I mean, you're on the ice with like former world competitors, current world competitors, and you're like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing. At the same time, like, oh, I have to try and be as good as them. So, I just, there were just too many perfect storms that happened that day that just led to the crashing of my skating.
But I think it's important to note that that mindset that you had that can be dangerous can easily be brought on competition day, because when your coach and your team, they believe in you, they're behind you, you still have a bit of that fear when it comes time for competition, right? So, and it's almost like you have to develop a stronger mindset to be able to get past that and have a really great skate, and the day that you tried out for that team, it just wasn't your best, right? It wasn't your best day, but now at least you're with Haydenettes and you're feeling good. So it's having you equipped with a better mindset to actually go and have your best skate. So that's good. How are we for time? Oh my gosh, I'm telling you, we can go on and on and on about this. I guess we got to wrap this up, but does anybody else want to add to what we want coaches to know or do, or teammates?
I think
I'll add to it quickly.
Go ahead.
Okay, we'll go Denika and then Élodie.
Going off of what Ashlee said, like for sure, like I attended one of my first Nexxice skills and I got pointed out by one of the coaches, and knowing that she was looking at me and gave a compliment boosted my confidence. So then it was able to make me just strive and be like, you know what, I'm going to go for senior instead of holding back. So definitely the little things that coaches will do, whether it's addressing a skater or it's pointing out something good that they did, or it's just talking to them, definitely will help boost their confidence. And that's something that definitely the Nexxice coaches and the Gold Ice coaches both did, which helped me become the skater I am today.
Right. Ali, were you going to say something?
Yeah. So for coaches, I would say educating yourselves first off. I recommend Movie Dear White People. If you want to look, it's about Black students in a predominantly white institution. And then educating your skaters and every level of your skaters, not just your older skaters, but also your skaters on younger teams, because they might do stuff that is racist without even knowing it because they don't know it's racist. So educating everyone about it once you've educated yourself.
Okay. And Élodie?
I wanted to add the same comments about educating yourself, because it's really important to be aware of what's happening in the people of color's life.
Right. And I think I would like to add that this is not only up to coaches, but it's also up to parents. I think what I would like to see from this is I would like to see this discussion be carry on at home with other parents, with the coach. If you see something, please speak up. Don't be silent. Don't turn away from it. If you don't know how to handle it, just say, I'm not sure how to handle this, but let's discuss it. If you turn away, it's not going to make the situation disappear. It's going to make things worse. We've all heard the slogan, silence is violence. So I think if we can get all skaters comfortable, then everybody is going to be able to skate to the best of their ability, and you'll see the best thing happen for your team. So I encourage everybody, parents especially, keep this conversation going with your own kids, and then hopefully it encourages coaches and teams to have this discussion. And this is not something that's going to go away. And it's something that we need to keep working on all the time. So it's only going to work if everybody's doing this. So we got some work to do. And Lisa, thank you to you and One Team Movement for having this. And
I look forward to future discussions. Cherisse, we've talked about having other panels, including some coaches and maybe a different one with business owners. So we'll work on developing those and bringing those as well. In closing, I just want to share a few comments on the YouTube video, the live stream. Someone said, thank you for your vulnerability and sharing your stories. Your generosity to tell your experiences inform my future choices and actions. Someone else said, thank you so much for this. My team is extremely diverse, and so this helps me to see that each individual has a different experience. I will continue to grow and learn. And there's a ton, but I'll read one more. One more said, thank you for sharing your experiences and thank you for your education here tonight. Your participation is remarkably important in getting these conversations going. So to you ladies on the panel, thank you for your bravery. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for being part of this. I hope this is the beginning of a new kind of synchro where we can be more welcoming, more inclusive, and just a better people in our sport. So thank you very much. And thank you to everyone for tuning in today.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.